Hi there, I'm Allison Moon, and welcome to day 74 of 90 Days of Self-Publishing. Well, I'm taking a break from my constant motion forward in today's video to talk about something a little bit more esoteric. As you may have seen yesterday, I lost my day job, or we're going on hiatus. No fault of mine, actually. Hopefully we'll be back up and running as soon as the financing comes in for the project that they're working on, but it's definitely a little bit of a harrowing experience, which has made me a little bit more introspective today. So I figured I'd answer a question that I got from my mailbag from Mark, again, of markyology.com. He asked me the question of how I knew I was ready to publish the book. And that's a really great question, and I haven't really thought about it before I'm recording this right now, so I'll try my best to give you a coherent answer. I think there's a mix that one has to acknowledge of being too ready and not being ready enough. And a big part of this is, as a creator, as an author, most of us tend to be perfectionists. We don't want to send something out in the world that is truly ours and truly intimate before we're so sure that it's ready. At the same time, a lot of us, me included, lose patience. I definitely wanted this book to be out there far before it was ready to be out there. I just thought it was ready over and over again. I just wanted to send out to the world. I had kept on telling my friends I felt like I had been pregnant for 2.5 years and I just wanted the baby out of me, right? And you have to find that balance, because if you wait too long, you can lose momentum completely and you will never publish anything. Now, I had to admit that this book is not perfect. Lunatic Fringe is my first novel. I'm very proud of it, representing my first novel, but if I think that this is the best thing I'm ever going to produce, that's a really, A, disappointing and scary thought, and B, kind of setting myself up for just disappointment for the rest of my career. I'm 30 years old. I want to write more books, and I want each one of them to be better than the first. So I definitely acknowledge that this book was going to not be perfect and not going to be the grand opus of my life. Again, I'm 30. But I also wanted to put out what I could consider to be the best version of this book that I could. So a lot of that came down to outside opinion. I had beta readers for the first draft. I had a couple other readers for the second draft, and then I had my editor come in, and I had a couple of other valued and esteemed colleagues that I had read the book, and all of them said it was ready. Now, if any of them had said, Allison, this really needs a lot more development, or, this whole third act falls apart, or whatever, I would have had to listen to them, and it probably would have been really hard and heartbreaking to deal with, because it would have meant, kind of reassembling my entire project. But luckily, everybody who had read the book said that they really enjoyed it and that it was ready to go. Obviously, with my editor, she gave me edits to make, but all those edits I was able to make, and she agreed that they were great, and so the book was ready to go. So I think the important thing to realize is that you're going to have to deal with your own temperament. You might be a very impatient person like me. You also might be a very shy person like me, and afraid of actually what it means to put your book out into the world. And you might let that fear corrupt your entire experience, and you might let that fear convince you that it's not ready. And knowing the difference between a book that actually needs more work and a book that actually is ready to go out into the world, but you're afraid of dealing with the consequences of having a public persona, you have to be able to figure out the two. And for me, it often means calling in some cavalry. Calling in friends that I trust and I value their opinions to tell me, am I crazy? Is this good? Is this ready? And so I'd say find some trusted allies, not your mom, and not your spouse or partner. Find some allies that you respect, the way that they read, their tastes, their knowledge of the canon, if at all. If you write in a genre, find people who read that genre, and if you don't, find people who read literature like your book is, and ask them to read it and tell you if they'd spend money on it. Tell you if they enjoyed the experience of reading it, and if they have any tips. That is honestly the best advice I can give in terms of knowing you're ready, because it's so easy to hide behind your own fears and anxieties when you're on a project like this. So find some allies, trust your allies, and at the same time listen to your allies even when they tell you something that you don't want to hear. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining me, and I'll be back tomorrow.